On today's episode of the Open in Indiana podcast, we meet a photographer from McCordsville, Indiana. Don't miss it. Welcome, everyone, to the Open in Indiana podcast, where we feature the people, places, and events that make Indiana a great place to live, work, and visit. Today, our guest is a photographer from McCordsville, Indiana, Lori Cardwell. Lori, how are you today?
Hi, Ryan. I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on today.
Well, Lori, thank you for being our guest. So let's talk about how did you get started into the photography field?
So yes, the photography field, it's been a long path getting here, and it's kind of funny. Ever since I can remember, I really always wanted to do something in the creative fields, but photography always had a special place in my heart. And it's kind of funny that back when I was in kindergarten, I remember we had to put little items into a time capsule, and turns out in high school we got those items back, and my drawing said I want to be an artist. So I thought that was kind of, oh, that's neat, but went about my life, went into business school and worked for other companies, and continued kind of just loving photography as a hobby, but I didn't make it my full-time business until about 2 years ago. And my grandmother had passed away years and years ago. The first thing that I remember wanting to do was looking at photos of her, and I really loved how that gave me a window into her past. And it was like the tangible thing that I was left with after she was gone, and I just loved having that memory of her, and I wanted to really create those legacy images for other people, because it's not just about right now, it's about 10, 20, 30 years from now, having those portraits done. So that's how I kind of got started, and finally decided to take the leap and serve others to get those legacy images.
And so, Lori, since there are so many different methods and types of photography, can you share a little bit about some of your techniques and some of the things that you do that are unique?
Absolutely. So I'm a full service portrait photographer out, and I specialize in magazine style portraits. And I believe that everyone of every age size should have a great portrait that they look and feel amazing in. So I focus on, individuals, headshot, even for business photography, headshots are important, but also for individuals, to capture those legacy images. My process starts with a consultation to figure out exactly what you're looking for. How do you want to use the images? And we go from there to develop a custom photo session tailored on whatever you need. Do you need wall art? Do you need promotional material for your business? Do you just want to have like the special gift to give maybe to your spouse or for your children or for yourself? Have you went through a transformational experience, which I absolutely love those stories that go along with that, to help show your beautiful self and capture your legacy.
And so, Lori, that brings up a really good point that not all photography sessions are the same, and depending on your intended use of the photos, it can drastically change the process, correct?
Absolutely.
And so, Lori, can you share some of your favorite sessions that you've done as a photographer?
Yes, definitely. So recently, a couple months ago, I did a photo session for a family that they hadn't had any images taken together in years. It was over 7 years, and just having that image, like the children even were like, "Can we get a photo together?" So it's really important for documenting families for you to have photographs together as a family, because then the children want that too. They want to be able to remember what they looked like when they were younger. Actually, a friend of mine, like, she's told me that she doesn't have any photographs of herself as a child. Is, that's something that you really want to prevent from happening. You want to be able to have those photographs for your children to look back on and see themselves grow up through the years. And one of my favorite sessions are always, individual portraits of women that, maybe haven't taken time out for themselves. If, they're always doing something for someone else, busy moms, professional women, to take that time out and to really get those images of yourself that you can cherish and, love having the experience with them. Because I also have a hair and makeup stylist that can come into my studio and gets them made up before their session, so that all they have to do is walk in with their clothes. They don't have to worry about doing their hair or makeup. We take care of that for you. So the stress is really taken out of the session by, as women, we spend hours getting ready for hair and makeup. So having somebody else and a professional doing that for you is really, I think, a really stress-free experience for my clients before the session. And I love providing that service for them, just so that they can really focus on themselves rather than on the act of getting ready. So, and that also brings me to practicing self-love. I know a lot of people have like this internal dialogue going on in their head. And sometimes we're not the nicest to each other, but we have to remember to practice that self-love and to take that time to really document and, take an image of yourself. Because when everybody likes to kind of look back on their portraits and say, oh, hey, I did look pretty good then, so that's something that I really love being able to provide. And that's the service that I love doing for women.
Awesome. And Lori, what is one thing that you wish you knew when you were just getting started in your business?
Oh, yes, there's so many things that I probably would have liked to know. Starting a business is never easy. I'm sure a lot of people can tell you that. But maybe something that I might have known, but it's very hard to implement until you're actually starting your own business, especially for photography, is it's not about the fancy gear, the newest or latest gear. It's about how you see the light and how you connect with people. So I really focus on that. And if you're not a photographer yet, maybe that might not make sense, but all those photographers out there will definitely understand what I mean when I say to see the light. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. And it's definitely something that a trained eye has the specialty. And, there is a difference between amateur and professional photographers with the lighting. And I would definitely say focus on education and practice, definitely.
And so, Lori, what advice do you have for anyone today who is considering hiring a photographer? What kind of things should they be aware of, or what kind of questions should they ask?
Definitely, because hiring a photographer is a very personal experience. It's a great question. Definitely hire somebody that you connect with, because it is a very personal experience. A lot of people have insecurities or flaws, things that they consider flaws, but aren't flaws. They are things that make us unique. So you want to be able to have that photographer that you can connect with and that will show you and your best light and show your best version of yourself, because that's really what I aim to do. And I think that's what all photographers aim to do, is to show yourself in maybe a light that you didn't see before. So I would definitely, I think personal connection is really good. I know a lot of people focus on price, but pricing isn't everything, and sometimes you get what you pay for. I've seen on Craigslist $10 for a headshot, but your shadows are showing. They didn't, it's something that you definitely get what you pay for. So always be careful and ask questions, look at their portfolio, make sure that you're getting a good service and value.
And so, Lori, how could our viewers and listeners get in touch with you if they want to learn more, or if they'd like to hire you for their next photography need?
Yes, I would love to speak with anybody that's ready to capture their legacy and freeze that moment in time. So you can reach out to me at loricardwell.com, or you can email me at Lori Cardwell, and that's LoriCardwell at outlook.com. Or you can call me at 317-296-4359. And yeah, I look forward to hearing from you. And thank you, Ryan, for having me on today.
Well, Lori, thank you so much for being our guest today. And to everyone watching and listening, thank you for catching this episode of the Open in Indiana podcast. Catch our next episode soon. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Open in Indiana podcast. If you enjoyed listening, subscribe to us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Music, iHeartRadio, or on our website, openindiana.com/OII podcast. Thanks for listening.